Thank you guys for joining to this live session. My name is Hamid Hassanzadeh. I'm the founder and editor-in-chief of Parametric Architecture Platform. Today we're gonna invite DesignMorphine webinar tutors and we'll discuss about the upcoming webinar series and about the master classes as well. So DesignMorphine, founded by Tvestalina Georgieva, Pavlina Verdolki, and Michael Pryor, is a global creative design hub. They focus on workshops, lectures, projects, and explorations in architecture, design, and the art. DesignMorphine strives to combine learning and teaching essential elements of trending design practices in a condensed way. Now they are a team of 29, defined by a multidisciplinary approach to design and its education. The team strives to engage in conversation and dialogue between others to share experiences and learn from each other. They go by the code of teamwork in any project capacity, be it a workshop or architecture. DesignMorphine is coming up with an exciting webinar on various stimulating topics covered by exponentially creative designers in architecture, design, and art. The topics being Bionic Articulations, Contorted Compositions, Kinetic Correlations, and Scripted Synergies. These insightful classes will step up on how design is perceived and how it will lead to making a better future. So today we have associates and members from DesignMorphine, the highly skilled tutors for these upcoming webinars. So first of all, I welcome Chantal Matar to join to this live. Hi, Chantal.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you. Welcome to PA Talks.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
Thank you. It's really great to have you in here. I'm just passing the mic to you if you want to say hello to our audience.
Well, hello everybody, and thank you for joining in this live session. Yeah, we can crack on whenever you're ready.
Yeah, thank you. So your work explores liminal margins between abstract and conjecture generative art. Can you tell us briefly about your take on design and art?
Yes, I mean, design or architecture in a sense is a bit more concrete as a definition. So this is how I see it. So it's more about structure and a bit more realistic in a way. But art in a sense is a bit more abstract. And I like this opposition in terms of definitions. And my work personally explores that liminal margin. So I like softening that divide basically. So this is my intake on both realms to start with.
Yeah, amazing. And the topic of your webinar and upcoming webinar is Kinetic Correlation, is your lecture that will dive into vector trails and particle systems in Houdini. Can you enlighten us for what factors you will be touching upon in the webinar?
Yeah, so as you mentioned earlier, so it's part of the whole master's degree program. So Kinetic Correlations is part of the chapter. So as it's like the definition of kinetic, so it's all about movement and flow and motion. And I thought, well, particles, systems, and all these trails is a big example of how these networks work. So it's a good like intro, if you want to say, to the master's program. And it's a bit more, it's a very small scale workshop of the overall master's chapter. So it will be nice to introduce this concept. And during the workshop, they will learn different aspects of defining trails and particles. So it will be more artistic first, then we'll take it a bit more gradually, a bit more difficult, and getting it more solid. So you have it, you can just introduce it in your own creative project. So it could be something architectural, it could be a sculpture, so it could be motion as well, and animation. So it's very open to interpretation at the end. So that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, exactly. And you also work at Zaha Hadid, right?
Yes, correct.
And can you talk a little bit about your background? How did you get to ZHA as well?
Yeah, so I've been at
because I see in the questions as well how talk a little bit about your experience and ZHA.
yes, of course, everybody's question.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a very common question because it's a very wide firm, so there's a lot of diversity even in terms of clusters inside the company. But I've been working there since 2018, so since summer 2018 when we were actually physically there. So
Yeah.
I started there, and well, I have a very diverse background. So I joined the company based on a technical background and more advanced stages of the project. So I started on DD stages and a bit more closer to construction stage. But then like it's so wide, the company, that you have so many options. So whenever you finish a project for any reason, and then you jump into another team and another project, and it's a new team, so a new way of thinking. So you really have to have like versatility as well, and it's very challenging. This is the work environment in general, and you grow out of it. Like you grow from these experiences. But now I'm working on a competition that we won last year, and yeah, just a lot of diversity and a lot of growth, basically, in the company.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. So you have been. Could you share your ideas behind your aim to explore alien landscape, linear formations, and digital strata that lie on the threshold of spatial chaos and structural continuum?
Yes. So in a very simplistic way, like my specific design direction and all the work that I do, it aims at transforming these spaces and these structures that you're actually used to seeing, or a bit more inspired by science fiction. So I like this kind of spaces, and what I do is the way I integrate my design, like my design background, or the tools that I use, is I actually add more emotion and animation, and I transform these highly like structured spaces into something more flexible. So this is what I aim in general at doing these, and at the end they're open to interpretation. They're like stills in motion sometimes. So it's that specific frame in the transformation that actually interests me the most, and this is what like poses questions, etc. So yeah, that's it in a very, very simplistic way.
I see some kind of like art logics behind it. Do you have any something like this behind your works?
Art logic. What do you mean exactly?
Like, is there any artistic rationalization behind your works?
So yeah, so there's different elements actually that come into place. So sometimes the rationalization comes from like films or something that like I studied filmmaking as well on the side. I did some workshops, so that's something that stems as well in some of the designs that I do. So like a bit more into cinematography sometimes. So there's
yes,
motion too, and yeah. So this is a highly influential point in the stuff that I do, to be honest. So yeah, that could stem from that.
Yeah. We have one question from our audience. Just let me. Okay, John asks, what will be the large scale of the workshop? What will be the large scale of this workshop in the master's program?
So in the master's program, we'll dive deeper into these aspects. So we will not just learn particles. It will be a lot of different notions. So this is something that's going to be done alongside Miroslav as well. So during the actual master's, you start with Maya, and then we'll integrate Houdini as well and After Effects. So it will be a full-on, quite a rich program. But for the webinar, it's just a simple introduction into Houdini. So it's going to be more for the beginners, intermediate level. So if you're not very equipped as well with the software, you can easily join to the webinar, because that's something that's going to be helpful to build on to getting into the master's. So yeah, it's just an introduction, but at the same time, something you can actually.
The webinar is introduction to.
Yeah. It's just a small introduction for the whole chapter. It's very dense chapter, so this is. I mean, in 5 hours. You'll build a very introductive knowledge into and network.
And in the masters, these chapters are also connected to each other. For example, the skills that you will develop in For example, with Houdini, you will use in the other chapters as well. They will help to develop the project, the idea.
Yeah, so they're all connected. All the chapters are connected in terms of the theme, like at first. So whatever you learn in the previous chapters, you'll bring it on to the next one. So when you go into the kinesis chapter, you'll build all these like networks and vehicular and urban networks, etc. So it's a bit more on a larger scale than the actual workshop that we're doing. So this is it. And whatever you build on with Maya and Houdini, I think that's something you'll carry on to the next chapter. So this is the structure of the masters.
Yeah, awesome. Great. Awesome. I'm checking if there's any questions. Yeah. So I think I had just one question. How do you see this online, like during the pandemic, as we all got online, working online from far from home, and how does this affected to your design abilities? Like you spend more time at home, all of us actually.
Yeah.
Like how do you think this will affect the design in future, architecture in future?
I think first it was a bit alienating to start everything online, so it was a bit it was a very strange moment. But then after some time, we actually realized that that's something we could have done a long time ago, and it made things much easier. And like connecting people as from different realms and different parts of the world that wasn't possible before, that was possible now. And I think the further we go on doing this and everything digital, the more we're actually going to realize, and this idea is becoming more concrete. So I think it's going to go on for a long time, especially now. Like I feel like it just made things much more fluid in a sense, and in terms of design and doing your own thing that you were postponing before, for like there were so many distractions. I know there's the social element and the personal relationship that's sacrificed in a sense.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like if you want to be positive, you have to take the good side of it and use this time just to be as productive digitally. But yeah, just keep the balance, because otherwise it goes like it can go both ways. Yeah, just
exactly.
Yeah.
We understand that we can do things not to be physically together, but virtually together. So this was one of the best points of staying at home, working from home. We don't need to spend a lot of time traveling all over the world, going through the projects. And that was the great point and achievements of this pandemic for us as designers or architects.
Ironic sense.
Yeah.
Yes,
thank you. Thanks, Chantal, for joining.
Thank you.
Is there any final things you want to add to the conversation?
Just I hope if you have guys if you're interested in joining the workshop and you have any issues or questions, feel free to DM me anytime. I'll aim to respond as much as possible. That's on the side. And just thank you for joining in. It was a pleasure. And I hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Thanks for joining.
Okay.
Have a nice day. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, guys. Thank you. I'll invite Radul to join. Hi, Radul.
Hey, hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you as well. Thanks for joining. Do you want to say hello to our audience?
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to meet our community in the internet here.
Yeah, thank you. Radul, you are the lead architect and owner of Studio BRIP and have worked on building typologies ranging from restaurants, residential buildings, and hotels across all different stages. Could you enlighten us about the works that you're doing?
Well, after I graduated with my master's degree in 2013, I started working as a freelancer with some of my professors. And one of the first projects there was interior design for a high-end restaurant here in Sofia. So pretty much that's how it all started. because the restaurant was a huge success and many similar projects came up after that. So in some point I took the initiative and I did my own studio and started doing the projects by myself. And that continues pretty much until now. Up until this point, I have accomplished more than 20 restaurants, and I'm proud to say that the latest one is there actually in the heart of the London city. And parallel to this, many other opportunities came up. I had the chance to work on different commercial projects such as residential buildings as hotels, and I managed to make some contacts with other architectural companies and started working them as a partner, and it all grew up pretty organically. And I should say that the algorithmic approach helped a lot in my work and the things that I do with my studio, because in some point I started using it in my daily work and increased my productivity by a lot, and the quality of the projects, and that helped us to expand our field and our opportunities. So yeah, it was pretty exciting through the years, I can say.
Great experience. Yeah. So Contorted Compositions version 1 is the topic you will be lecturing and teaching at DesignMorphine webinar. What would be the highlighted elements in your class?
Well, the webinar is inspired by the second chapter of the DesignMorphine's master's degree, and we explore parametric workflows that combine complex geometry, design, and procedural modeling using grasshopper algorithms. The participants will be guided through different approaches for creating periodic surfaces and morphing them into compound pavilion topologies. And I'll be showing diverse procedures and patterns that will articulate the complexity in the forms. And based on that, the geometries will be panelized and rationalized using optimal minimal geometry curvatures. And algorithmic methodology will be used in combination with advanced modeling techniques in order to produce not only remarkable results, but also a series of logic groups that will be applicable in various design tasks in the future work of the students and participants. There will be also some of the new sub-D, not the new, but some of the sub-D capabilities of Rhino. And the aim will be to achieve precise and intricate geometries as an avant-garde architectural design.
Amazing, yeah. Radul, you've been working and being a part of the team of DesignMorphine for more than 7 years, I think. And what does DesignMorphine stands for? And what are you pushing to move forward?
Well, through the years, DesignMorphine grew exponentially, and a lot of great professionals came along, and we really expanded. And currently, there's a lot of professionalism gathered in this community from all around the world. And I think our next step, which is pretty excited, is that master's degree in computational design that is happening in the university in Sofia online. Me personally, for me, that's the next big thing in DesignMorphine. After the workshops and the very successful webinars, the most natural, maybe it's not the most natural, but it's the most exciting thing, definitely, is this master's degree, because it's going to gather people from all around the world, and not only students, but really fine professionals from everywhere.
Yeah, amazing.
And the program is really exciting.
Yeah, exactly. And you're also currently teaching as an assistant professor in UACEG, Sofia. Mm-hmm. What do you see in the upcoming year, in the upcoming young designers and architects?
To be honest, I require more from my students than I was expected from when I was in their age, and the reason for that is the immense capabilities, this huge field of design ideas and new techniques that are possible for them right now, and they're able to explore and experiment with different design approaches and different softwares and different tools for their ideas. So I don't want to generalize them, but I want to encourage them to be brave and find their own voice and experiment with everything that they can.
Yeah, brilliant. And lastly, could you share a few words about the PhD thesis concerning algorithmic and parametric modeling applications?
My thesis was always intertwined with my work and DesignMorphine because it was inspired by DesignMorphine's first workshop. And after I saw the capabilities of the algorithmic approach, I decided that I want to use it in my work, and I find this way to do the research and implement it in my work. And parallel to that, explore it with the DesignMorphine workshop. So it was everything in the three things came together in order to become my thesis. And it took a while. It took me 5 years because I was working full-time as an architect at that time, but it actually helped a lot to my work and to my studio. And I in the same time, I managed to advance with DesignMorphine's team and to learn from all the professionals there and even from the students that I teach. And in the end, it helped me a lot. And helped a lot for my work, and it helped to the university as well because the master's takes place in that same university that I was pretty much the first who started exploring those ideas back then. So I'm kind of proud that the master's degree is taking place in my university right now.
Yeah, amazing. Awesome. So what is your advice for students, young generation of designers?
Well, like I already said, be brave and explore and find your own way, because the architectural field was always really wide, and I think it's going to become even wider. And like you saw previously with Chantal, she has this really wide background, and she's working on really different projects and with different design teams, and she said pretty much the same thing. And I think that is going to continue. Architecture and the design profession is going to find more and more fields and opportunities to express itself. So my advice to the young generation is to be brave and not try to follow the previous paradigm, but try to find your own way, because it will always continue to grow.
Yeah. One final question. Since you're teaching at the university, and also there's always a gap between students when they graduate and also the practice, like whenever they jump into from graduation to the practice, there's always a gap, and they don't easily adapt with the situations of practice, or the knowledge they require is not in the level of practice. What do you think you can do, or what are your suggestions to close this gap between architecture education and also the practice, since you're teaching?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. I don't think there is an instant cure for this. My way of doing is, I think the students should grab any opportunity of doing actual real life work and do that as soon as possible. Me personally, I started doing internships since my first year in university, even from my high school, to be honest, and I've never stopped working outside of the university. And I think it's really important for the students to find and not miss any opportunities for real life work. No matter what it is, anything could bring valuable experience into their practice. And on the other hand, they should ask more from their teachers, to be honest. Like speak with them more, ask them questions, ask them for work or for a project that can be involved into, and just push wherever you can. The professors in my university, they were a really important part of my professional career after I graduated. They still are. They're still partners of mine.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. I actually master's program like computational design, like DesignMorphine's computational master program, are some kind of help for students after getting graduated from a 5 year or 4 years of bachelor's degree. They can easily understand how to work with softwares. They can easily understand how to adapt software with architecture and with the design methodology. So it would be some kind of helpful knowledge for students to adapt themselves with the practice after graduation. So it's a good point to add this into the conversation as well. So
Sure.
if there's any other point that you would like to add the conversation, we're here to listen. If not, we will end the conversation again.
Okay, so I really like the community that you're creating and we are part of, and I'm excited to meet everyone who wants to join and explore DesignMorphine's programs and webinars. And you can find me on the media all the time. I'm happy to meet everyone who is interested in those topics and computational design.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Radul.
Thank you for your joining.
Time. Have a nice day.
Sure.
Goodbye.
It was a pleasure. Goodbye.
Goodbye. So, guys, I'm inviting Keyur Mistry to join the live. So, if you want to say hello, you can go.
Hello, everyone. And thank you so much, Amit, for calling me on this call.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for joining to Pieter's conversation, DesignMorphine webinars. So, what are the passions that drive you to weave architecture, fiction, and technology? And tell us briefly about your studio, Sympathia.
Yep. So I've been interested in computer graphics and software in general. So I learned 3ds Max even before I started studying architecture, because it was just so fascinating for me to make 3D models and make renderings. So yeah, so I've been very much interested in learning new softwares like Unreal Engine or Cinema 4D, Maya. So that I really enjoyed doing that. And other than that, the works of Lebbeus Woods or concept art in general, and also the processes that goes behind making the sets for movies like Metropolis or say Blade Runner. So they really inspire me to do the work that I do. So yeah,
making sets for these movies.
Yeah. Like
you inspired from them and you design according. Okay.
I think there is a lot of creativity that goes in that, and I think architecture could learn from these processes.
Absolutely.
Yep. And so sympathia, by definition, means connectedness with the cosmos. So I got interested in this word because it reminds me to think of something larger on a much larger scale, where we are just a speck of dust in this universe, or we have lived on this universe for just about 0.032%. So you, and the other thing is where all the living beings on in this universe, we see world differently. Like for example, the bats see the world differently, and the plants have different sensations. So for me, it becomes an interesting point to begin to imagine different kinds of realities or fictional realities that might exist in this universe. So that's what I try to speculate on in my work.
Yeah, amazing. So could you give us a brief insight into Bionic Articulations version 1, and what will we expect, and what will we take away from attending this webinar?
So Bionic Articulations workshop webinar is based on DesignMorphine's master's degree, chapter 1, prosthesis, where it's inspiring for me to develop an architectural language based on prosthetic components. So we will be sculpting these components using ZBrush Dynamesh geometry, and then we will be working with different kinds of mesh generation techniques like extract mesh or shadow box or remesh, and many more techniques to generate new kinds of shapes. And then we will be working with alpha maps or masking techniques to generate high resolution details. So I think that is one of the takeaways, is to learn to sculpt in ZBrush. Second thing is to develop, learn to develop high resolution articulations on the mesh. And then we will be using a workflow of high poly to low poly mesh in ZBrush, so that we can develop a much refined mesh and a much cleaner topology. And then we will be going back to our high poly mesh and projecting those details onto the low poly mesh, which will be subdivided. That's how you develop a much cleaner topology. So yeah.
So it's from intermediate level to advanced, or in that 5 hour, do they need to have any pre-knowledge about ZBrush?
No, it is from beginner to intermediate. So we will be going through the basics of ZBrush UI, because in the beginning it becomes it's a very intimidating UI. So we'll be going through components of the UI and how you can navigate in ZBrush, and then slowly build up with the overall process of sculpting and then refining the meshes. Yep.
Yeah, amazing. So exploring digital tools to generate new kinds of aesthetics and architectural effects is your deep-rooted interest. So how do you see the future of architecture with this?
I think I see a lot of architects and designers playing a huge role in developing virtual environments, because I think as architects and designers, we have used digital tools and we have worked with digital space, but mostly we have used the tools to make, hello? Hamid, are you live?
I hear you. Yes, I hear you, I see you. There was some lags, but
yeah.
You can continue.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we have used the digital tools to make things for the physical space. But I think I see a lot more architects and designers making the transition from being the architect of the physical space towards being the architects of the digital space.
Yes. So I see one question from Kathy.
Yeah?
What would you say it's the best part of being an architect?
I think the best part of being an architect is that you can learn so many different tools and techniques, and you can apply these design techniques to many other things, not just architecture. So yeah, I think that is one of the best part.
Yeah, amazing.
It's a very creative field. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So your diverse experience working in various firms worldwide must have given you comprehensive insight into the design and its execution. So can you share a few words as an inspiration to the young designers out there?
I would say I would advise young designers to explore design possibilities outside of their office work, because and just explore without any limits or without any constraints. Just let your mind wander and just experiment, because I think that will give a lot of that will help bounce back ideas between the functionally demanding work and between some artistic approaches. And in the end, it will help push architecture design, because many a times the functionally demanding work tends to reduce the artistic side of architecture. But then the moment we start to explore new things, we can find a balance between the both of them. Yep.
Yeah, amazing. I think you answered this question, but I'm asking, Koeleka asks, what do you think new technologies and methods can contribute to architecture?
I think they have already started in terms of virtual reality, and now that we have gone online since this year, I think we have started to move to digital space and not just live within screens, but actually live inside the three-dimensional spaces. So yeah, that's very exciting to start to design and work with, and also inhabit. Yeah.
Yeah. Another question might be a little bit tough, but what do you think? Ilya Iran Architect asks, what do you think about connecting architecture with mechatronics? Because I think that is the future.
I'm not so much familiar with mechatronics, but I imagine it to be robotics. Is it? I'm not sure. Please
Some
forgive
kind
me.
of, yes.
Yeah. Sorry, what was the question?
What will be the future of architecture in connecting with mechatronics?
Well, I'm not so much familiar with it, but I can.
Okay. No worries.
I've not worked so much with robotics. Yeah.
And there's another question. There's too much questions from you. What software you recommend for virtual reality designs?
Virtual reality design. I think that there's a lot of software that goes into designing of the virtual space, like from Maya to Unreal. Unreal Engine is the engine, or Unreal or Unity, or there are also a couple of other engines that you can use to create the virtual reality space. But then there are other softwares like Maya, Substance Painter, ZBrush. There are so many. There's a long list of softwares that you can use.
Awesome. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you. Thanks for joining, Keyur. Is there any other point that you would like to add to the conversation?
Well, I would like to thank you for inviting, and I would like to see a lot of people joining the webinar and learn more about Bionic Articulations, and also join DesignMorphine's master's course.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Bye. Goodbye. Have a nice day. Goodbye.
Okay, guys, thanks for staying with us. I will invite Mateusz to join.
Hi.
Hi, Mateusz. How are you?
Hi. Fine. How are you?
Thank you. Welcome to PA Talks. Do you want to say hello?
Yes. Hello.
Hello to audience.
Yeah. Hello to the audience.
Yeah.
Nice to see there's plenty of people on the channel. So it's a bit intimidating.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. So you founded the consultancy firm called The Object. Could you briefly tell us about the develop and conceive ideas of your firm?
Yes. So, well, it sort of came out naturally. So I started, doing Grasshopper stuff, and then over the years I developed a couple of plugins. Then we started doing the workshops. And then at some point, I think also the community, like design community, not only architects, but just generally design community, started using Grasshopper. And that's where clients just started to emerge. And, because of all the plugins and all the activities which we did, it was, I think the first couple of clients I got just by, random approaches over the internet. And so I think back then I was still working for someone, so I think it was like.
And this is the year. Which year is this?
Well, let's say 2016, when I sort of started working like really professionally full time, on parametric design only, right? So parametric design and coding. So at this point, I think it was 2016, but before that we did quite a lot of workshops. I did some freelancing back then, but then the things started really rolling around 2015, maybe 2004. 15, 16. Then I moved to Denmark, worked in CETA for a while, and then that's where I really got some really good connections, and that's how it started rolling. So right now we are, so in the beginning I thought that, I'm not sure if it's the continuation of the question, but
no, go on.
So in the beginning I started, I thought that in the beginning I will do parametric modeling, but then we saw that the clientele is a bit different, and most people ask us for actual coding. So there's a lot of people knowing Grasshopper really well coming to us and asking us if we can do more than they can do on their own, because they are like full-time designers with no time to explore Grasshopper to the deepest core, like we do usually. So so this is how it's started. But right now it's surprisingly we don't work with architects that often. It happens with urban design and some architects, but there is just much more in the industry out there happening, and we can see clothing brands employing computational designers. I founded the Facebook group Computational Design Jobs, and
yes,
I think architecture is like 30% of the jobs posted there, and the rest is from companies which do just about everything, right? I think automotive, naval architecture, design, clothing. I think even like there's quite a lot of research projects as well, which are everywhere from urban design to
product design, interior,
product design,
industry.
So there's, and that is kind of surprising. Like if you ask me like 10 years ago where it will lead, I kind of saw that this will be like the parametric modeling will become a job on its own, but I thought it will be kind of limited to architecture only. I was working in that field only, so I had a limited perspective, right? So, but right now I see that it's a global movement.
I think it's getting to be a kind of like the topic of computational design is being a special discipline for itself. For like in every discipline, you need a computational designer. I believe in every aspect of design, you need a computational designer.
I just saw your talks with other people, and I think someone was talking about coding, or maybe it was just me thinking about something which I like thought a long time ago, that I'm in the camp where I think that we should teach coding to kindergarten kids, right? Even very simple scripting as different, like as another skill to reading, writing, drawing, talking.
Absolutely.
I think it should be just another skill. It doesn't have to be like, we don't really need to understand compilers and how they work in assembly language, but I think that just simple scripting really, like it really changes the way you think. You start to think logically. Like it's not to offend people who don't code that they don't really think logically, but it's just a different, like there's logic in, for instance, in law and how you define like logical sentences and so on, but there's also logic in mathematics, which coding really requires. That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
A different shade, let's say.
Yeah, good point, actually. The coding is now another language for itself. For example, imagine English. It's a language. Like, imagine coding languages. They needed to be taught in the schools, even in the kindergarten. You told, yes, that's a good point, actually. They need to learn, because in the future, we will need a lot of these scripting coding skills. Me, myself, I really love to learn how to code website, or how to compute design, or these kind of stuff. But normally architects, because they are a little bit soft, they cannot, designers generally, they are soft. They cannot easily adapt with the situations of black screens or these kind of stuff. But they are still in the transition of getting from that softness into more technical, more statistical design styles. That's a great opportunities that these days architects have in their hands. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. But I mean, I will just add to that I find generally that product designers really understand hard constraints. that's something can be geometrically impossible to fix.
Exactly.
Architects tend to be a bit more artistic from my understanding. And, you know, I'm an architect as well, so I'm the kind of...
Yeah.
And I actually graduated from fine arts, so that's even
more softer. Yeah.
Yeah, even softer. Right, go with your heart and not really with the client's budget. So that's a general understanding. But yeah, but that's on the other hand, you know, I'm teaching students in 2 or 3 different schools, depends how you count it. Now the new masters, it will be another one. But what I found, which is really interesting with the students, is that it's really good to work with people who don't know how to code, and they still have this like artistic perspective, let's say, or soft perspective, let's say. And this is refreshing. A lot of time it's just refreshing. And I can see myself being stuck a lot of times within, you know, just coding and scripting. And, you know, I recently just got my drawings from my cupboard, which are like 10 years old, from my fine arts. And I started to think that maybe I should go back and draw a bit. Recently, I wanted to sketch something for the students in 3D, and my hand seemed like it's like incapable of drawing anymore. So I think I mean, but I'm typing without looking at the keyboard, right? So we need to balance it out probably at some point.
Yeah, amazing. So Scripted Synergies version 1 is one of the most exciting webinars of upcoming DesignMorphine webinars, where you would be teaching scripting and algorithm design using C# and also object-oriented programming. Can you share an insight into how you will be teaching the subjects?
Just to clarify, you were asking about the webinar or the chapter? Because the chapter will be called Cosmogony.
First, let's talk about webinar. I will talk about chapters after that.
Okay.
Afterwards.
Okay. So yeah, the webinar, I mean, because in my case, they are really tightly connected. Actually, the chapter will be sort of a continuation of the webinar. But of course, they are like...
connected.
Yeah, they are. I mean, if you join both, it's perfect. If you join just one, it's also fine. I mean, we'll manage it. So in the webinar, I want to show how to script very simple agent-based systems, and I want to do it in a very like modular fashion. So there will be one framework which we'll create in the scripting components, and then we'll just add different goals. Something which might remind you a bit how Kangaroo works right now, with different goals where you add different constraints to the system, and it does different things, right? In our case, it will be very similar. We'll have agents and we'll add different functions to the agents. And the goal will be to find a set of constraints or the set of rules for the agents to act upon, and to create some interesting geometry. So this is so this is the idea for the webinar. Now we're going during the webinar. We'll be doing that in a scripting component, so it will be very crude in the as a final thing. It will be very crude. Now in the chapter, we'll be refining it. So but regarding object-oriented programming, this is you know, just C# as a language is one of the object-oriented programming languages. So we are going to go through basics of object-oriented programming and how it works, if we will have enough time. Because I mean, there's a lot of theory to cover during those couple of hours, but we'll try our best. Like object-oriented programming is basically how you manage memory in the computer, right? So if you would like to create an agent, usually without object-oriented programming, you would have some table of values, and then this agent will be represented by some table of values somewhere, and then it's really hard to organize. With object-oriented programming, what you have is that computer computer understands that there is some object in memory, it addresses that object, and you store all the values for the agent in that particular object. So I mean, the object becomes the agent essentially. Right?
Yeah.
So this is and this enables us to create very complex code in a very simple way. That's the principle, right?
Yeah, amazing. So I saw in the comments asking about where they can find more information. So guys, if you want to find more information about the webinars, and if you want to join or check the other webinars, you can go to our profile, click the link in the bio, and go to the website, and there's a lot of information related about the masters and also about the webinars as well. So just click in the bio, and you will be headed to our website and also DesignMorphine's website. So Mateusz, you've been working with and you've been a member of DesignMorphine for 7 years. And what was the first basic ideas when you joined, and now after 7 years you saw that DesignMorphine grow during the 7 years, and what does the DesignMorphine stands for you?
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, okay, let's start from the very beginning. So as you know, we always had myself, I started learning how to code by creating Grasshopper plugins. So my politics with with doing that is to create a free plugin and then travel around the world and show it during the workshops. So I made a lot of we did a lot of workshops together with Michael even before DesignMorphine. And then DesignMorphine for BH just was a natural continuation of what we were doing before, also with other people. And what's nice about DesignMorphine is that we have really a lot of people in the organization, and this gives us a good power to organize, promote, and to cooperate with different people as well within the group, right? So that's, for instance, that's how I met Madeline. And we did a workshop just before the pandemics. We did a workshop in Romania, right? So in Bucharest, and it was very nice. Good to meet this guy. I mean, now we are going to do the chapter together, but it's a nice community. It's as I say, for me, workshops are usually just to show off what I've been doing so far, and just to show some interesting stuff out there.
Yeah, amazing. And you talked about these plugins. You authored the Owl, Starlink, Squid, Anemone, if I'm right, Mesh Tools plugins, and many other Grasshopper-based plugins. Can you tell us about what drove you to create these plugins and how it sets into the workflows?
Yes. So with most of those plugins, I really wanted to learn myself how to do things, right? And then I realized quite quickly that I'm starting to write some code down, and then if it's already there, just why not to publish it? And Grasshopper is a great platform to share code with other people and just to share different plugins and your experience with other people. So, and it's free. It's not necessarily open. I mean, Owl is open source right now, so you may actually look at my GitHub, it's there. But yeah, so those plugins were always a kind of a way of self-learning how to do things, and essentially they led to a lot of different stuff which we covered. With Anemone was just a different take of looping in Grasshopper. Squid was learning and seeing how to draw. Actually, Squid is a different story. Squid was more about being pissed that I cannot really draw nice vector graphics in Grasshopper. So yeah. I figured out that maybe I can make a plugin for that. With Owl, that was some interest in machine learning, which is now being continued in my PhD. And yeah, but I think the initial idea was I want to be another plugin writer, and I'm sure and have my own Grasshopper forum group back then. Yeah, when we had different groups. I mean, now it's a bit differently organized, but anyway.
Yeah.
So that was the idea.
Awesome. So lastly, you pursued your thesis on AI in architectural design. And how do you think the future of AI will be in collaboration with architecture?
Yeah, I think I will, with that question, even though I'm not really sure if I will agree like 100% with that guy, but I think Daniel Davis comes to my mind right now, where he suggests in his recent writings that AI will be kind of invisible, like autofill is in the Gmail app, right? It just fills automatically the next sentence or something like that, and it just helps you write faster.
Exactly.
So I think I'm voting for that, but on the other hand, there is of course this very vague understanding of AI as a omnipresent, artificial intelligence, general intelligence, which can do everything for us. But while it would be interesting to see that, I don't think that it would be that much used in practice. I hope I'm not wrong, because that would be really sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, in my case, when it comes to my experience with AI, I'm trying to in my thesis, I'm trying to get the AI to a point where I can say that there is some AI tool where I can use it daily. Okay.
You can use it daily.
As a designer.
Oh, okay.
As a designer, yeah. So because right now you have the one AI thing, which is also on the boundary of AI and just general computer science is optimization, right? That's a thing where you have it integrated in some tools, right? Generative design with Autodesk or Telepackers in Grasshopper, where this optimization is there, and it does some intellectual work for you. So that's for me, that's the definition of AI. It's probably not the best definition, but for me, that's what I assume in my PhD. And yeah, so this is yeah. So I would like to have some more tools which are based on that. I just don't know exactly what are the tools yet, because this is what I'm doing right now.
Is there any other plugins coming up you're writing or you're working on?
Publicly, not really. I have to update.
Privately?
Yeah, I mean, I'm writing some plugins actually for my PhD thesis. I'm writing some plugins. Actually, I mean, not to spoil it, but I mean, at some point I may release a plugin for Rhino, which will, because I'm working right now on open source public database of floor plans and some semantic information attached to those floor plans, like labels and so on. So I created a very simple Rhino plugin so that I can ask students to label the floor plans for me, and then we'll see what's next, because that's my next paper. I can tell you. I mean, it's not super secret. I mean, because it's a natural continuation of everything what I've done so far with AI. I just see that there is a lack of databases, a lack of knowledge. I mean, data, the knowledge.
Yes.
Is next, right? But data, we don't really have that much, right? So.
Yeah, there's not much architecture in design.
Yeah.
In comparison to other disciplines.
Exactly, right? There is
like photography is very
exactly, photography, text. You can take a look at a very nice TED talk. There's this woman who's talking about, I think it's ImageNet or something like that. There's like a 14 million image database where it was hand labeled by a lot of people, crowdsourced as far as I know. As far as I remember, and this sparked the interest in images.
Can you talk a little bit louder? Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. I'm here.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it sparked the image processing movement in the AI quite a lot, because it enabled people to use this data set to train different models, right? So I think that we as designers and architects, we sort of, if we want to use AI, I think the first step is to create a database. There are some databases which might be interesting for us. I know that there is a database of 3D models of apartments, very simple meshes, but as far as I remember, they don't really contain the semantic information attached to it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is, and I'm also like, my other interest is in the graphs. So I also want to have graphs of those layouts as well. And yeah, graph theory is interesting. Let's say it's very advanced. I'm really bad at maths, so everything is a challenge for me, but getting there.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. So thanks for the conversation. Is there any final words you want to add to the conversation? Any suggestions for students?
I mean, I would like to. Yeah, I mean, because we were talking about coding quite a lot, and this is exactly what I want to teach as well. And I'm recently, before we were focusing, I mean, I was focusing on teaching some plugins and so on, but now I'm solely focusing on coding and AI. AI because of my PhD, and coding because I think generally that everyone should code.
Exactly. Awesome.
Yeah. So that's for the webinar and for the chapter for the masters. That's exactly what I'm going to do.
Thank you. Thanks for joining into the conversation. I really enjoyed it. It was brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice day.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Yeah, have a nice day as well. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching and joining to this live session. I really appreciate that. So to get more information about the DesignMorphine webinars and the master programs, you can visit designmorphine.com/education, or you can click the link in our bio and get a lot of information about webinars and also the master program. You can DM DesignMorphine, send emails to you about both the webinars and also masters. They're instantly answering. So if you have any question, don't hesitate to contact us, to contact DesignMorphine. And till another episode, another interview, stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you and goodbye.